Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining me for using astrology to manifest and heal. I was really hoping that you guys would be able to attend in person. So, this is going to be a little bit different because we're not going to be able to talk about your personal chart, but I will do all the information and go over the class just like I plan to. So, using astrology to manifest and heal, it's all about learning how to maintain in your own energy. I always say that your birth chart is your Bible, right? It is your basic instructions before you leave earth. If you look at your birth chart, you can find things that you need to overcome, things that need to be uh, healed, right? And we're going to talk about the planets, the zodiacs, the houses, the planets in each house, applying astrology to heal and manifest, retrograde, doing the work, journaling, releasing, accepting. All of that we will cover today, and it might not be as long as I planned since there will be no interruptions and you guys are not in class. So let's get to it. The planets, all right? We're going to start with the personal planets. These are the planets that affect us on a personal level most of the time in between the ages of 33 and 36. This is where we start transitioning into the other planets, but let's talk about the personal planets. The sun is like your father, your internal guide, your focus, your beliefs. It's like the masculine energy that you grow up with. The moon is like our mother and nurturing our feelings and emotions. It's our intuition, it's our protection. It represents the mother attributes. Mercury represents our thought process, our communication, and how we express ourselves. Mercury also represents the magician energy because Mercury is the creator, right? Everything starts in your mind. Okay, so that is the creator, and we know that that is the process. Venus represents our love and the way we express it. Mars represents our actions and impulses and instincts. So Mercury is like our thought, Venus is like our feminine energy, and Mars is like our masculine energy, okay? And then we're going to go to the transpersonal planets. These are the planets that affect our spiritual consciousness and evolution. And like I said, more than likely we start working with these planets in between the ages of 33 and 36 because up until then we're trying to learn our own interpersonal skills, right? So Uranus, it creates a spontaneous energy to help you break free from restrictions and outdated beliefs. This is where we are breaking free from those familiar patterns, those religious structures, those government structures, those school structures, everything that held us back. We use this Uranus energy, right? Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, where our dreams of all kinds and the illusions that they create. So Neptune helps you step out of the illusions, all of the doubt, all of the fears that has been placed upon you through life, and live in your reality in real time, right? So if you can learn to live in the present moment, you can learn how to turn your dreams into a reality. This is also, remember, the spiritual consciousness, right? We have Pluto, which is our regeneration, our rebirth, and the way that we handle changes. A lot of people get stuck in anxiety and depression because their life changed and they don't know how to embrace it. And we'll talk about that during this class, right? With about Pluto. Pluto is the first planet that will go retrograde this year. It goes retrograde on this month on the 29th. So it's going to be important. Chiron is our healing power, where we transform negative pain into positive gain. Chiron is the planet of deep healing deep inner wounds. It's known as the wounded warrior, right? So this is where we take all of the lessons, right? And we learn from them and we get the blessings, right? This is where we heal those deep inner wounds. Chiron has been in the first house of Aries over the past couple of years and will remain there till I think 2026. And this is where we are getting an upgrade of self and removing a lot of those things that come in as we grew up that has stepped on our own pride and self-worth, right? So then we go to the social planets. These are the planets that are affected by society and how we integrate them for personal gains. Jupiter is a benevolent planet. It brings blessings and expansions, but you have to realize where the mind dwells is where the expansion swells. So if you're in negative energy, if you're in hurt and pain, that's what's going to expand. That's why it's important to heal, right? Even if you are manifesting things and you're not healed, you'll get these things and still not be satisfied because you still have to heal things within inside yourself. So we also have Saturn, which is malevolent planet. It brings destruction and the removal of what no longer serves us for the rebuild on a solid foundation. And Saturn it sits in a sign for 2.5 years. So in that first year is about destruction, and then in that second year it is about rebuild. Okay, together they balance the karmic scales, because in order to expand you have to release certain things, right? So we're talking about the planets. I do want to note that the energy for me is very different from a regular astrologer. I don't just chart the charts. I also sit with the planets and I commune with them. So this is my teachings. This is what I experience. When I say that this planet rules this and this is what I've experienced, right? So this is how I go. So we are going to get into the zodiacs and correlate them with the houses as they are in. All right. So the first zodiac is Aries, which when we use in healing and manifest, let me get this out of here. Aries is all about self. It's all about self-love. It's all about self-worth. It's all about confidence. It represents the first house of self, of how you see yourself and how the world sees you. You guys already know, if you follow me, my teachings is you're not supposed to give a fuck about what the world, how the world sees you. It's all about how you see you. And that leads us into our second house, which is Taurus. This is all about your finances, your assets, and your value of self, because you are always your most valuable assets, right? Okay. And then that leads us to Gemini. This is a duality energy. This is the third house of the mind. It's communication. It's intellectual stimulation. It's also where you would do a lot of shadow work, right? Because you have the negative and the positive, the right and the left side. And this is where you want to make them conjoin and come together, okay? We have the fourth house, which is Cancer, right? This is the inner child. This is the home and stability. This is your nurturing, your stability of self and your children. This is also where a lot of inner child healing occurs, and we'll go deep into that when we get into using the systems to manifest, right? So, Leo energy is next. That's that fifth house of love, romance, the things that you create. This is your passion projects, your children. This is also inner child healing. You have Libra. I'm sorry, Virgo, which is the sixth house, which represents your daily structure. It represents your health, whether that's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and financial. It represents your work because it's your daily life, so what you do for your job. And we have Libra, which is our seventh house of relationships and partners. It brings balance, contracts, and all of those things. We have Scorpio, which is our eighth house of transformation. This brings hidden talents, shared resources of all kinds, deep secrets. This is also where you do shadow work, and we'll talk about that. Sagittarius energy is the ninth house. This is where you see your spiritual growth, your education, your travel, right? And astral travel if you're tapping into your spiritual gifts. Capricorn energy is the 10th house of career and reputation. This also represents the masculine father energy as it correlates to the opposite of Cancer, which represents the mother energy. And we'll talk about the opposites of the signs and how if you learn each sign, you'll learn the balance of both of them, right? So, this is about your security, your stability, your physical reality, your self-control. In Capricorn season, we do shadow work also. And then we go to the 11th house of wishes, blessings, your social circle. This is balancing logic, right? This is where you socialize. This is where you go after your desires, okay, in your 11th house. And then that leads us to our 12th house of closures, where we are balancing out our emotions by releasing and closing out cycles and doing shadow work. You see how we just went through all the 12 houses, and then we end up back at Aries, which represents the astrological new year, which represents the spring equinox, where things turn into new. So it is all about the cycle, and we are going to break it down and talk about the signs and the planets and what they are ruled by and the houses right now. So the first house is Aries, and it is ruled by Mars. So this is why a lot of people like to take action. It represents the astrological new year. It is a cardinal sign where things are changing in a new direction, right? The second house is ruled by Taurus, and it is ruled by Venus. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and money. For me, Taurus right now is also being ruled by Uranus, all right? And like I said, this is my teaching. It's a break free energy trying to break you free from those restrictions. And Uranus has been in Taurus for a while and will be there for the next 5 years. So right now, the energy is very, very hovering over it. So this is where you're trying to break free from those restrictions that have been stuck in your bounding, and digging up those seeds and planting new ones of self-worth, right? Because we're moving from a season of lack into an abundant mindset. So that's where, when we do the healing, you know what I'm saying? That's where Uranus energy is really taking space right now. So the third house of communication is ruled by Gemini, right? And it is ruled by Mercury. That is the messenger, how you receive and how you perceive those messages, right? Like we said. Okay, the fourth house is ruled by Cancer, that moon intuition, that mothering intuition. It's also ruled, that's the mother intuition. It's ruled by the moon. But for me, The moon can be Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces energy. It's a highly intuitive energy, all right? So the fifth house is ruled by Leo, and Leo is ruled by the sun. Your life force, your inner, you know what I'm saying? And it wants you to guide out of love. And we're going to talk about where your sun is in your chart and how that correlates to what needs to be stimulated in your life, right? For you to have that life force. Okay. Sixth house, ruled by Virgo. It is ruled by Mercury too, and we'll talk about that energy of Mercury when we talk about manifesting in Virgo and Gemini seasons, because Mercury rules both, right? For me, also, Chiron is ruler of Virgo because Virgo deals with your health, and Chiron is the healer of deep inner wounds, right? So, the seventh house, you have Libra. Seventh house is ruled by Libra. That's all about balance. And that is ruled also by Venus. So, Venus rules both Taurus and Libra energy also. Okay, you have the eighth house, which is your transformation. That's ruled by Scorpio, and it's also ruled by two planets. It's ruled by Mars and Pluto, that house of transformation, right? That Pluto, that's how you deal with the way that your regeneration, your rebirth, and how you handle change. That Mars energy, that fighting force to move forward, right? It all conjoins. And then you have your ninth house that's ruled by Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, that expansion. That is the house of spiritual growth, that expansion, your travel, how you want to move, right? And then you have your 10th house, which is ruled by Capricorn and ruled by Saturn. So that is that tear down and that restructuring in the career sector. That's always going to change, right? It's ruled by Saturn. Your 11th house is ruled by Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So when you get this tear down energy and this break free energy in the 11th house, that's how you know, like, you got to move away from certain social structures that mean you no good to get what it is that you want to manifest in your life. They all intertwine, right? And then you have the 12th house of closures, ruled by Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter, right? And we talked about both of those planets. Jupiter brings blessings and expansion, and Neptune brings your dreams to a reality. But in order to have that process, you have to close out these cycles, right? They all work together. They all work together, right? So we're going to talk about the full moon and the new moons, okay? Full moons are used for healing, shadow work, and for releasing any blockages when you are using the systems to heal and manifest. New moons are for setting intentions, new goals, and embracing, right? You want to make sure that you are releasing or manifesting according to what sign. According to what sign it is in. Like right now, we are going into the full moon in Libra, right? Saturday will be the full moon in Libra. So we want to make sure we are releasing relationships that no longer serve us so we can come into balance. We want to make sure that we are looking at friendships that are not reciprocal so we can release them, because it's about releasing the things that don't make us come into balance. And that seventh house of relationships is really all about you and how it works. That new moon in Aries, right? That new moon in Aries, and Libra is its opposite, and we're going to start talking about opposite. That new moon in Aries, right, where Libra is, that new moon in Aries is all about in the first house of self, right? That's where you are manifesting the things that you want. And then you get to the full moon in Libra, your seventh house of partnerships. Who's getting in the way of what it is that you're manifesting for yourself? What needs to be reestablished and what boundaries need to be had, right? This is how you use that energy. Boom. You manifesting for self, you releasing out the seventh house because this is in your house of relationships. Remember, the most important relationship you will ever have in yourself is with yourself. So when you're manifesting and it goes that way, boom. So Taurus season, all right? We're coming up to the new moon eclipse in Taurus season, right? We're manifesting our self-worth, our money, you know what I'm saying? Our value, our assets. Me personally, I don't do work in eclipse season, but hey, do you? Because I just let the work that I've done, right, amplify in eclipse season. So, because anything can happen and the North Node is there and you want to break free. So I'm just going to let my magic happen. And I said that at 2022, just so you know. So, when you got Taurus season and you're manifesting for finances, right? It's opposite. When we get to the full moon in Taurus season, it'll be in Scorpio, the eighth house of how you share your finances with people, your eighth house of debt, right? So you'll be releasing out of there. Gemini, okay? That's the third house of the mind. When you manifest things for the mind, right? When you manifest your clarity and the things that you want, when you get to the full moon in Sagittarius, you have to release those spiritual beliefs and those doubts that need to be taken out of your head, right? This is how it works. The opposites work, right? And so on and so on. We get to Cancer, right? And you're manifesting for new stability, new home, whatever. But we get to Capricorn in the full moon. Look where you got to release from. The security and the stability and the physical reality of that you thought there was. And that's how you find the balance. Leo is opposite Aquarius, right? And Virgo is opposite Pisces. And if you learn their energy, okay, so you want to know how a Virgo thinks, but you only know Pisces energy. I'm sorry, let me say this right. You want to know how Pisces would explode or their shadow side, you would look at Virgo. You want to know a Virgo's light side or whatever, you would look at Pisces. Do you understand how it goes? All right. Like if you want to look at the opposite sign on a different spectrum, you would look at the opposite. If you want to look at the shadow aspect or the light aspect of somebody, you would look at the opposite of their sign. Do you understand? Okay. Working with that now. All right. So we're going to talk about the moon and the sun cycles and how we use them, right, to manifest. So the moon moves every 2.5 days and the sun moves every 30 days, every 31 days, you know. In every zodiac season, the moon will move into every zodiac and house. This is where we use our journaling and our to help notice our behaviors based on where the sun and moon is. This is how we learn our energy, right? This is why we have our journaling prompts, okay? So, when we are using it to heal and manifest, let's break it down. We are in Aries season, so we're going to use this coming week, right? So Aries season in the first house, that's where the sun is. That's where everything is being illuminated, right? This illumination is where you're supposed to work on. Now, the moon is dependent on where the moon is where you would do your work. And like I said, this is going to be different because I'm not in class with you guys where I can tell you where you know where the sun is in your personal house, but you can correlate what I'm saying. Do you understand? Like the sun right now is in my 9th house. So if you have your birth chart, you will know where Aries is at and what is illuminating. So right now, the sun is in the first house collectively. So right now, the moon is in, I think the moon is still in Cancer and moves into Leo a little bit later today. So as the moon is in Cancer, boom, right? The sun is in Aries, the moon is in Cancer, okay? So it's highlighting your inner home, your stability, your inner child, okay? So what do we need to work on? What emotions are we feeling, right? This is how I balance it out, where the sun is. Now, the sun, oh, we have to go back just 1 second. We do have to talk about the aspects, okay? But we're going to talk about how we align it to move, right? Because Aries and Cancer naturally square. So if the sun is in Aries, right? And we're going to talk about those things. If the sun is in Aries and the moon is in Cancer and you have a square, right? This is where you have to work through the emotions. This is where you do your shadow work. We will talk about that, okay? So that's how you look at that. So the sun is highlighting where the moon at now. The sun is highlighting my inner child, my stability. What do I need to do to build that? Okay? When the moon goes into Leo, it'll trine that. This is a good aspect, right? So I can use this energy to manifest and use this energy to have these creating passion projects, right? Now, when the moon moves into Virgo, now I'm focused on my daily health, my life. That's what is shedding in this time in my first house. Correlate how Cancer, right? The moon in Cancer, we in the first house. How does my home and stability and my roots correlate with how I feel about myself? Mother energy, right? First house, moon in Leo. How does this romance, this project bring my self-worth and my self-value up? Build confidence within me, right? Moon in Virgo. How does this, my health, right? My daily structure, what I'm working towards, boost my self-confidence, my self-worth. That's how it works. When the sun is in Taurus, right? When the sun is in Taurus, you know what I'm saying? It'll go the same way. It'll be highlighted. Boom, your finances is highlighted. Now, when the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in like Aquarius, right? Okay, we're just gonna go there because I know that when the sun moves into Taurus on the 19th, we should be in Sagittarius or Capricorn energy where the moon is. Yeah, so it'll be like in Sagittarius or Capricorn. So we'll go to Aquarius, right? So when the sun is in Taurus season and it's all about our finances and our self-worth, and then when the moon is in Aquarius, we are evaluating, right? How what our money, right? So in the 11th house is what we are manifesting, our blessings, our wishes, but it's also our social circle. What's there in the 11th house right now? Saturn, right? How do we need to rebuild because it's in its second year on our finances to get these blessings? This is how you will look at these energies as you are manifesting and healing, if you get my drift. That's how it works, right? I don't know why that keep popping up. So we are going to go back because we have to talk about aspects. Okay. Y'all guys know when I get to talking, I get to talking. So we're going to talk about aspects, and then before we move forward into retrograde season or anything like that, we're going to give you the attributes of, like, if you look at your chart and you have the sun in the third house, we're going to tell you what the attribute is, right? We're going to go over those things, okay? So we're going to slow it down and get back into astrology before we get into the healing and the manifesting. You guys know I get excited. I get excited. So first of all, let's talk about the major aspects when we are talking about astrology, right? So, one of the major aspects is the trine. This is where planets support each other. Trines are by nature they are accepting. They allow us to accept others, ourselves, and situations. The talents of the trines offer a native are so natural that they are almost unconscious. Often enough, natives don't truly appreciate the talents that these trines offer them, and they may not try to develop them. So when we're in a trine, right, that means that we are in a good energy where we are all balance and flow, and our energy is in aligning, right? And we can accept everything because we understand. So the planets that naturally trine are the same signs, are the same element signs. So the fire signs, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, they trine naturally. Okay. The water signs, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, they trine. Earth signs trine. Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. Air signs trine. This is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. All right. So that is the aspects of the trine. And when we speak of astrology, another major aspect is the square. Okay, so the square is the aspect that creates tension between the planets and the points involved. Okay, tension is necessary in order to stimulate action. So this is where you have, chaos, right? Chaos creates peace, right? So the planets involved in a square are acting to cross at purpose. With squares, we may overdo and run into countless obstacles before we get it right. That's why we have to overcome the squares in our chart, right? However, squares forces us out of complacency and get the ball rolling. Squares are often more difficult when we are young, as these aspects force us to grow and learn our lessons. So, the signs that squares are I just lost the name. I forgot what they're called. Um, but I know them. So the cardinal signs, they are square, okay, or oppose. That is Capricorn and Cancer, Aries, and Libra. Okay, the mutable signs, they are square. Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces. The fixed signs, they are square. Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus. See how that goes, right? So these are natural squares. Then we come into oppositions. All right. The opposition is it takes two. It's the expression. And the opposition is created by dividing the circle in two. So this is opposing forces. What you want versus what somebody else want, and learning how to come into a balance, right? The key to the meaning of this aspect is relationship. People with opposition seek out others as if to mirror their own internal struggles. They learn about themselves through interactions with others. Very often, oppositions cause us to swing from one side to another when we feel turned. Oppositions represent a state of divided loyalties. Inner discontent, uncertainty, and insecurity can be a result. While a square is urgent and courageous, and opposition is unsure and wavering. When we use our oppositions correctly, We will be more willing to consider the other side as we can be adept negotiators. Oppositions are always full moons. Okay? You have the sun versus the moon, right? And it's always opposite signs. Like the new moon was in, like the full moon in Libra. We'll have the sun in Aries, the moon in Libra. So it's always that opposite, balancing out the opposite sign, your shadow, right? The opposite sign of Aries is Libra. Do you get it? Right. So another major aspect in astrology is the sextile. The sextile is often read like a trine, but although there's a distinction between the two aspects. Sextiles like trine point to some talent and ease. It's a good thing, right? But sextiles have a little more oomph. Get it? Sex. We're creating, right? When you have sex, what are you doing? When you're supposed to have sex, what are you doing? You are supposed to be creating something new, a baby, right? So that has a little more oomph. While trine comes naturally to people, and that they might have to be reminded of their own talents and tendencies, sextiles are more overt, all right? These are the talents that people appreciate in themselves. They are more inclined to notice and work on these talents. Sextiles are communicative and relationship friendly aspects. They are the points to the energies that are capable of being directed. Sextiles are reveal the potential for intelligent use of the energy. Right now, one of the major sextiles that's happening is the North Node sextiling Jupiter and Neptune. So this is good creative juices being flown in. Do you understand? So let's talk about the difference between the sextiles and the trines, okay? Both aspects show us planet buddies who get along, okay? But the trine buddies may take each other for granted, even though they derive pleasure from each other, while the sextile buddies remain separate somehow, and when they cooperate with each other, they fully appreciate the friendship. So, natural trines, okay? I mean, natural sextiles, because we talked about the trines. Natural sextiles are, right now, like we are in Aries season. Naturally, Aries is sextiling Gemini. Okay, it's the planet over, right? Not the next planet, but the planet next to it is sextiling Gemini. So communication is being highlighted, and it's also sextiling Aquarius, because we go this way, right, too. So it's sextiling Aquarius energy, okay? So Aquarius energy, that's communication, that's air energy. You get it? Capricorn naturally sextiles Pisces and Scorpio. So, they get along together, okay? This is going to drive me crazy. That thing keep popping up. So the expression of the trine is very natural and automatic, while the energies created with the sextile are things that can be drawn up on if need to, right? So I can pull this without a me instead of trying to pull it without out of somebody else, which is a trine, okay? With trines, the energy tend to flow naturally into constructive channels, and with sextiles, a conscious effort is required to push the energies into constructive channels, okay? So we're going to talk about the difference in between oppositions and squares, okay? Squares create a kind of tension that demands action. Oppositions also create tension, but it generally seeks out others in relationships in order to work out that tension. So the squares are things you need to work out within self, okay? And the oppositions are things you need to work out with other people. Do you understand? All right. So, planets that be in opposition generally occur with compatible sign elements. So that is Gemini, Sagittarius, right? They're oppose each other. They're each other opposites, but the shadow side of a Sagittarius is a Gemini, and the shadow side, or the light. Do you know what I'm saying? They both harness both energies, and it's all about coming together. Okay? So now that we talked about the aspects, let's talk about how these show up in each house. If you have this in your houses where it needs to, where the attention is focused. So if you have the sun in these houses, this is what it is. If you have the sun in the first house, that represents positive leadership. Sun in the second house represents wealth, desires for wealth and possessions. The third house represents intellect. Okay, the fourth house represents home life, important. If you have sun in the fifth house, creativity is important. If you have sun in the sixth house, health and hard work is important. If you have sun in the seventh house, relationships are important. If you have sun in the eighth house, self-development is important. If you have sun in the ninth house, learning and teaching is important, as well as travel. If you have sun in the 10th house, work and career would be your importance. If you have sun in the 11th house, cooperative ventures and what it is that you want to work out with other people would be important. If you have sun in the 12th house, seclusion, aloneness, selflessness, that would be important. Okay? We're going to go to the moon in the houses. All right, so moon in these houses, this is what this can mean. So, if you have the moon in the first house, it can has restlessness, easygoing disposition, love of travel, strong sociability, contact with public. Second house, fluctuating finances but usually satisfying, love of opulence and extravagance, spasmodic regarding thrift and devotion to simple life. Moon in the third house, love of variety and change, travel, publicity, mental activity, education, communication, imagination rather than intellect and intuitive thought. Fourth house, family importance, domestic attachments, frequent moves, gains from real estate, financial inheritance, and early upbringing. Moon in the fifth house tends to gambling, risk taking, and inconsistency, interest in amusement, exaggeration, love of children, possibly a large family, a creative imagination. Sixth house, service, health, charities, work in a subordinate capacity, material gain from inferiors, best working under direction. Moon in seventh house, popularity brings success, social success, money and from marriage and or partnerships, likely interest in public life and holding official positions, liability and loss through litigations. Moon in eighth house, money by legacy or through relative, several children but possibility of losses of some kind or litigation after marriage, respect likely or to be accorded after death. right? So you won't get respect until you die if you got your moon in your eighth house. This is what your chart tells you. Ninth house, moon in ninth house, religious and philosophical interests, inclined towards mysticism, a strong imagination, um, mental changeability, dreams vivid, long distant travel by sea, publicity possible in regard to unconventional opinions which attract censure. The moon in 10th house, popularity and public ventures. I didn't mean to read all of these because I was just going to ask y'all where these placements was, and then I was going to read them for y'all, what it meant for y'all. But hey, it is what it is. So, moon in the 10th house is popularity and public ventures, accumulation of property and gains from external sources, reversals of fortune, scandal, and public censure may result from unfavorable aspects. So, depending what else is there with the moon, right? The 11th house, moon in the 11th house, is a wide range of friends, popularity, and association with clubs. Women play a large part of your life if you got moon in the 11th house. Danger from self-seeking friends who only wish to further their own ambitions. So you got to pay attention to that. Moon in the 12th house represents home life, favorite or occupation, retirement involving seclusion, charitable work, liability to clandestine love affairs, and danger from secret enemies, treachery, or deceit in the 12th house if you got moon in the 12th house. So we're going to go to Mercury in the houses. So know your placements. And, if you got these placements, this is what that means for you. So Mercury in the first house can represent restless, interesting, contrary personality that's elusive. Second house, documents and signatures involving finances needs care. Caution with promises of money and attention to bills if you got Mercury in the second house because it's highlighting your finances. In the third house, it could be restless disposition of the mind, full of creative new ideas, needs concentration and self-discipline to materialize brilliant potential of thought. I have Mercury in the third house. Fourth house, lots of intellectual interest in the home and among visitors. Fifth house, scattered talents and energies, studying and reading centered mainly on children and teaching. Sixth house, adopting pets and lesser creatures, nursing and healing medicine. So if you got Mercury in the sixth house, you can really be good at healing. Okay, being a doctor or a nurse or something like that. Seventh house, needing a mate who meets with your mind or friend who shares your thoughts. Mercury in the eighth house, estate matters, taxation, interest in the occult. You spiritual little beings. All right. Mercury in the ninth house, expansion of interest and science, art and philosophy of foreign lands, religion, etc. Mercury in the 10th house, activity and disturbances. Activity and disturbances. Where was I? Sorry. In your business and career. So if you have Mercury in the 10th house, you can see fluctuations in your business and career. 11th house, many and variable types of friends. So you could just have friends everywhere because you got a like-minded personality. Mercury in the 12th house, desires seclusion and escape, interest in mysterious and obscure influences and in life. All right, so if you got Mercury in the 12th house, 12th house, if you got planets in your 12th house, you really just like to be alone. All right, so let's go to Venus in the houses. All right, so Venus in the first house represents a loving, affectionate nature and harmonious personality. Second house indicates wealth and beautiful possessions and many admirers. I have Venus in the second house. Third house, good for peaceful mind and attractive, harmonious, and constructive thought. Fourth house, harmonious home life, refinement of taste and decoration. Fifth house, very strongly seeks excitement and adventure in love and romantic relationships. Sixth house, peaceful attitude, helpful for healing and encouraging good health. All right. Seventh house, good for partnerships, harmonious marriage. Eighth house affects beneficial fortunes such as legacies, well wishes from others. Ninth house indicates a love of long journeys, a pleasure of work. 10th house, good for business and luxury goods, success in meaningful life values. 11th house, success in social activity and entertaining. 12th house, affections are confined in some way involving health, institution, or commitment in reclusive circumstances. Secret romances and alliances are indicated. All right, if you got Venus in the 12th house, you be seeing sneaky links. Okay, you can learn a lot about your chart, and when you get down and you realize where all this stuff at in your houses, I want you to learn what I wrote down about yourself in that house and what that means for you. Accept and embrace it and learn how to use it in your energy. Okay? 10:10 right now on the clock is 10:10. When I said that, right? So we're going to go into. I'm having fun by myself. Y'all ain't even here, and this is how I feel about astrology. I love it. I think I should do these classes just by myself and just put them out there like this, anyways, because I'm talking to myself, but I'm having fun. All right, we're going to go to Mars in the houses. So, Mars in the first house is enthusiastic and energetic. An active personality, but you can be impatient. Mars in the second house, finances are apt to create or to suffer conflict in some way, too impulsive in matters of economy and finances. I got Mars in the second house. I got Mars and Venus in the second house conjunct. So I be trying to balance that out all the time. For me, it's like as soon as money comes, it goes crazy. But it's all about balancing, and I've been doing my financial literacy and getting that together. So, boom, because that's what I've been working on, making a balance in that. And I've learned that because I learned the energies of my houses. So instead of spending as I get it, I don't do that no more. Like, that's how you learn how to bring balance. I save more. I'm more on the, you know what I'm saying? Because I learned how it interrupted my, finances. So in the third house, it represents hectic short travels and erratic habits of changeable communications. Fourth house, activity surrounding the home. Beware of fires and results of carelessness with sharp cutting utensils. Avoid impulsive home purchases if you have Mars in the fourth house. Fifth house, strong, ardent, emotional attachments and relationships. Strong feelings and desires. If you have Mars in the fifth house, you can suffer from frustration and irritability. Sixth house, health is tending to suffer in such a way that requires surgery if you have Mars in the sixth house. Mars in the seventh house, money problems and conflict with partners and loved ones. So, balancing out money in your relationships. Seventh house, eighth house, often learns of sudden or violent deaths of loved ones. If you have Mars in the eighth house, that represents a lot of death for you. You can have people have sudden death and violent deaths. Mars in the ninth house, interest in higher education and legal or philosophic debate. In the 10th house, good for business and enterprises, but should not neglect family. So if you have Mars in the 10th house, you got to learn how to balance family and work. Mars in the 11th house. Friends can be aggressive. You can have a lot of enemies. Do not force your opinions on others. That can create enemies. All right. In the 12th house, if you have Mars in the 12th house, secret enemies bring conflict and disturbances. All right. Energy turns into secret pursuits or quiet mind activity and search, sometimes being investigated by others. All right. And as you can get the feel as I'm going into each house and how the signs fit in them, you can get each feel for each house. So if you got a lot of 12th house placements, it is just really meant for you to probably be secluded and have a private life. All right. Let's go to Uranus in the houses. Okay. If you have Uranus in the first house, you can have some irregularity with regarding physique or unusual features and unconventional ideas and personality. In the second house, it causes sudden happenings in affections, persons, and business. Many unpredictable happenings in one life, indicating a need for feeling more at the helm of circumstances. Uranus in the third house, sudden changes of mind and mental interests and involvements, particularly unusual nature, inventive mind, sometimes amounting to genius, lateral thought process. Uranus in the fourth house, apt. This is big upheavals and changes in the home and family and residences. Hello, I got Uranus in the fourth house. Fifth house, that represents like the changes that I went through as a child. That represents my divorce also. Big upheavals in my life when it comes to family life. Fifth house, possesses unusual talents and associates, often creative with flair and originality. Sixth house, work must be totally observing with total freedom to fulfill the individual's needs. So if you have Uranus in the sixth house, you got to be your own boss. Okay? That's probably why some people have problems. Seventh house, unusual partnerships and relationships in marriage, possibly ending in separation or divorce. Erratic circumstances, unconventional or rebellious social attitudes. Uranus in the eighth house, unsettled conditions in finances or those of your partners. Impulsive, erratic moves to be avoided. Ninth house, unusual adventures. I don't know why that keep popping up. Unusual adventures of the mind, rather. Hold on, I lost my thought. Unusual adventures of the mind rather than the body. Scientific explorations into wilder territories, but also physical travel with unusual purpose. 10th house, often called upon for leadership of some kind. 11th house, introduces different friends and changes which will affect your thinking and lifestyle. Foreigners, unconventional. 12th house inclines one to deep thought and sudden revelations of occult nature or abstract, or danger of involvement in illegal activities. So a lot of shit happen if you got a lot of 12th house placements. Take note of that. So let's talk about Neptune in the houses. Neptune in the first house brings vivid imagination, interest in music, idealism, sea travel, can be too vague, personality, weak in self assertion. So that's where you need to build your self confidence. Second house, unusual source of income, loss of money through errors of judgment and confusion. Often suffers theft. Third house, interest in metaphysical and spiritual subjects. Intuition is high and physically sensitive. But confusion of mind and obsessions are the danger if contacting negative people or influences. Got to stay from that negative energy if you have Neptune in third house. Fourth house, attracted to a permanent home or holiday cottage near the sea. Fifth house, sensuous nature with fascination for interesting and emotional relationships. Love of music and arts, tend to escape from realities through sexual relationships and drugs. I have Neptune in the fifth house. I had to overcome sex addiction. See how it correlates? Yes. So, sixth house, poisonings, allergies, and inexplicable factors affect and prevent robust health. Seventh house, mistrust of a partner or deception will be suffered, inclined to platonic relationships and idealistic ties, emotionally dependent. Eighth house, mystery and psychic phenomena, astral experiences, investments involve deceptions from others. Ninth house, high inspiration and imagination, spiritual interest, strongly idealistic. 10th house, mysterious and inexplicable fortune, good and bad. The nature to be gullible. 11th house, deception from friends who will not be as they seem, suffers delusionment. 12th house, psychological and spiritual sensitivity must be employed in practical outlet in life planning to avoid waste of opportunity and talents. All right, Pluto in the houses. Y'all know y'all hear Jace in the background. Can I find Pluto? Can I find Pluto? All right. Pluto in the houses. Okay. First house, it represents a strong personality able to bounce back after disasters, great resilience. The second house, individual usually seeks to possess a reputation of astuteness or business acumen. Third house, seeks wide communication or international or interplanetary matters. I have Pluto in the third house. Pluto in the third house also means that you can connect and possibly be a medium. You could connect with spirits in another world. Fourth house, home life is often uncongenial with individual feeling discomfort of some kind. Fifth house, exceedingly interested in all creative matters and seeks excellence in others and your creations or your children. So this can have a hovering Like your children got to be A1 if you got Pluto in the fifth house. Sixth house, unusual health problems. Seventh house, seeks to be powerful partner in marriage or relationships. Eighth house, logical and intuitive nature, but suffering sexual problems or excesses. Ninth house, interested in universal religions, philosophies, ideologies, and well-being of all. 10th house, ambitions to the point of ruthlessness in business, mergers, and monopolies. 11th house, inclined to lose the sense of basic human values and overlooks the acres of diamonds nearby. Ooh. Pluto in the 11th house makes you not see your friends in the light that you should see them. 12th house, intense investigator who may place himself under and suffer wider investigation. So when you go seeking out things that you don't need to be seeking out with Pluto in the 12th house, it might come back to bite that ass. Okay. All right. We're going to do Chiron. So Chiron in the houses. So this is a little deeper explanation of what you need to heal. And like I said, by the time we get rid of all of these placements in the houses, you should be able to know where these are at in your chart and know the energy of what is creating and how you need to heal from them. So Chiron in the first house represents you need to exercise your self-discovery. All right. This speaks to your spiritual quest, your personal meaning and awareness of your existence. Chiron in Chiron in Aries or the first house. Chiron in Taurus or the second house. You need to seek comfort from physical, material, money, or sex, right? This is what you need to heal. Okay, you have unusual sexual interests. Chiron in Gemini or the third house. I have Chiron in Gemini. This represents where you need to heal communication and the ability to tap into consciousness of all communication. All right. Chiron in the fourth house. You need to this is where you need to heal family issues. Like you could have grew up in a home where you felt like you didn't belong, and that was because of Chiron in the fourth house. This also represents or in Cancer, this also represents abuse or abandonment of a father, a childhood trauma, stuff like that. Chiron in Leo or the fifth house, this represents where you can need to heal your ego crisis, right? Or you need to set a firm boundary, or you need to have an ego in order to survive. All right, this is where you need to rebuild with a new sense of purpose, okay? Because you have to heal that life force within yourself. Chiron in Virgo or the sixth house. This is a tough placement because this is the wounded healer. So you'll have a lot of natural health issues that you would need to be working on, okay? Chiron in Libra or seventh house. This means that you need to work on your rejection of being abandoned or wounded, right? This also can indicate that you are highly empathetic, okay, and have a lot of psychic natures. Chiron in Scorpio or the eighth house. This is where you might have to repeat certain life patterns in order to grow. All right. You might experience a lot of death. You might experience a lot of squares and oppositions. All right, but this is for your growth. You too will have a lot of empathic and psychic abilities, which are help you have a profound insight due to loss. All right, Chiron in Sagittarius or the ninth house. This is where you need to heal and break free from the traditional spiritual teachings that you were upheld to as a youth. Okay? This is where you break free from what people taught you and stand on your own. Chiron in Capricorn or in the 10th house is something similar to the sun in Capricorn, where you need to learn how to have a strong need to strive for a prominent place in society or career. All right. So this might need to be where you need to heal workaholic, being obsessive, being overbearing. Okay. Chiron in Aquarius or the 11th house represents where you need to heal being in the spotlight. You need to heal standing out and not fitting in. You're not supposed to fit in. All right? And you have to heal social rejection because you are meant to stand out. You are meant to be the leader of the pack. You are not meant to fit in. You're meant to have your own. Chiron in the 12th house represents universal consciousness. So there is a lot of things that you have to heal when it comes to depression and drug usage, okay? Physical health, things that can interfere with your intuition. All right, this is where that spiritual healing takes place because the 12th house is a lot of spiritual, okay? This is where spiritual crises break free, where you have to break free from religion and stuff like that also, and things that kept you stuck. And this is where you learn your psychic protection with Chiron in the 12th house. All right. So we go to Jupiter. So Jupiter in the houses. Jupiter in the first house represents problem solving, temperament, easy success, and fortune, a lucky personality. Second house, to be easygoing with inherited or easily acquiring money and possessions. Third house, short journeys are many. Travel is important. Correspondence will be enjoyed. Fourth house, expansion on home improvements, advanced social settings, and gains from real estate. Fifth house, one of the most fortunate planets, placements of this planet brings much goodness and happiness to the heart and mind and success in creative enterprises. I have Jupiter in the fifth house. Sixth house, good for unselfish service and work and good relationship with workmates. Seventh house, good fortune in marriage and professional partnerships brings changes of life direction. Eighth house, beneficial legacies and successful insurance claims and litigation matters. Ninth house, wonderful placement for fortuitous travel overseas, wide contact with other peoples and philosophies, writing and publishing. 10th house, good for success in business. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, okay? I'm going to tell y'all something because y'all learn it, and this is a class on how to use the energies to manifest and heal. We're going to go back to that ninth house where Jupiter in the ninth house. Wonderful placement for fortuitous travel overseas, wide contract with other peoples and philosophies, writing, publishing, right? Writing and publishing. When Jupiter was in Pisces last year, and I'm going off of my chart, right? This is what we did. I started working on my book. I started working on this book. Okay? I knew that I planned that, right? To have this book out for 2022 because when Jupiter goes into my ninth house, right? When Jupiter moves into Aries in May, do you understand? We'll see this expansion. Do you understand? It's all timed on how you heal and manifest. All right, let me get back to it. Jupiter in the 10th house is good for success in business. Jupiter in the 11th house, expansive interest in education and learning. Overseas contracts, social popularity. In the 12th house, less obvious good fortune in life, perhaps known mainly to oneself. All right, now last but not least, we got to do Saturn in the houses. All right, so Saturn in the houses. Saturn in first house is an earnest deposition, serious nature and responsible one, tires easily, not enough lightness and fun in personality, strong sense of responsibility. Second house, security conscious in all matters including money, inclined to save and conserve. Third house, conscious mind, tends skeptical, serious studies, sober outlook leading to maturity of intellect, determined upon absolute truth. Close relatives give problems. So if you got Saturn in the third house, you probably got sibling issues. Fourth house, disappointments or restraints in the home, real estate, or family relationships. I have Saturn in the fourth house. Saturn and Uranus in the fourth house, where I needed to break free from my family in order to be successful in life. It's in my chart, right? Fifth house. This could represent a lack of romance and sparkle in love life, limited enjoyment and capacity for lighthearted fun, needs to develop humor. Sixth house. Employment is tedious or monotonous and can be uninspiring. Delays bring bad fortune and sometimes health problems. Talent for medicine or nursing profession. Seventh house, difficulties in marriage and business partnerships. Misunderstandings manifest and cause deep rift. Strongly influenced by someone much older than yourself. Suffers trials and tribulations in relationships. Right now, on a collective mundane, Saturn is in my seventh house. And the first house, I mean, you guys seen, some of you guys seen me release The Crew. That was for my own good. Like, this is what it is, right? And you'll learn how to work that out in your chart, right? So, eighth house, Saturn in the eighth house. Disappointing investment and delays in settlements. Problems in marriage and family. Ninth house, deep philosophical inclinations, which are firm and conventional, unfavorable for long trips. 10th house, utmost diligence required in career to avoid problems. Must stand on own feet and accept responsibility. Must become confident and self-reliant if you have Saturn in the 10th house. 11th house. Lots of hard work for good causes, not always appreciated by others. And Saturn on a collective scale is in the 11th house right now. 12th house, restraints and problems abound in this life. You need resolution for the individual's next life freedom from restrictive limitations. When Saturn goes into Pisces in 2023, when Saturn goes into Pisces in 2023, and we could just see this, how that energy is going to be. It's going to be a lot of restraints and problems where we think we expanded where Jupiter is because we're expanding there now. Saturn is going to come at odds. Did you think so? That's why I like astrology. I get to get into before the energies, and I already know what the fuck's going to happen on a collective scale. So that is how all of the planets fit into those houses and what they mean. So you're gonna have to slow it down, go back and write down what that means for you and learn how to balance it. It could be in a good place or it can be in a bad place. So we're gonna talk about retrograde season. Retrograde season, when a planet is retrograde in that specific house, you need to be healing. Retrograde is about healing, all right? Retrograde is when planets slow down so that we can catch up. I call it healing season. Relearn, repair, renew, restore. Depending on what house a planet is in is where you would be finding healing. But there are lessons we grow from with each planet. And we're going to talk about them and how they're going to retrograde this year and where they're going to be and what we need to learn. Remember, you guys have the book, so you know when a planet is going to go retrograde. Look at that. Find out which house it is in so you can learn the lessons that you need to learn. All right. So, the first planet that is going to retrograde, Pluto is going to retrograde on the 29th of this month, right? It focuses on handling change with transformation. On the collective energy, Pluto is going to retrograde in the 10th house of career and reputation. How do you handle that? Right? There's going to be changes, things that you need to learn from. Pluto has been retrograding in my third house. In my sixth house of daily life. That's what it is for me. That's where Capricorn is for me, in my sixth house. So it's been retrograding in my sixth house of daily life since like 2013. And my life has completely changed. Let me talk about it real quick. And this, I didn't handle change. A lot of people don't know that in 2013, me and my ex-husband, that was our first split. 2013, 2014. I went back to him after he took a job in Colorado, and I was like, oh, this is my way to get out, away from my family. And I wanted my family to be stable, and I wanted my kids to have their father. So we got back together, right? Not knowing that when Pluto entered my sixth house that things were supposed to change, and I was resisting the change. Hence 2017, because we got back, we were supposed to separate then in 2014. We were supposed to get the divorce, but we didn't. We got back together. 3 years later, boom, my Saturn return came too. Boom, you know what I'm saying? And Pluto was in my daily life. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't handled the change the way that I was supposed to. And Saturn came along also and said, well, we're just going to tear it all down. If I would have left that marriage in 2014 when I was supposed to, I was very stable. I had my own, you know what I'm saying? He was the one that left. You know what I'm saying? I had a nice place. I was in a good space, right? But then I upped and I left and went to Denver. And then when our relationship ended, I had nothing. Nothing. Lessons. That was a big lesson in how astrology actually works. All right? So after Pluto goes retrograde on the 29th, and I don't have my date, so I'm gonna go back in my calendar. Saturn goes retrograde. Don't it go retrograde in May? Hold on. June. Oh, yes. Saturn goes retrograde June 4th. Okay. And that focuses on long term goals for stability and security. So Saturn goes retrograde in the 11th house of wishes. What are your long term goals and what do you want to bring in? That's what we got to learn. Venus, I'm not finna keep looking at the dates. When Venus goes retrograde, Venus won't go retrograde, right? Venus won't go retrograde. We just got out of Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde December 19th through January 29th. So we won't see another Venus retrograde for another year and a half or so, something like that. Okay. 14, 15 months, something like that. All right. So we started the year off in Venus retrograde. This was about focusing on seeing your true value, your self-worth from within your feminine energy. Okay. Jupiter focuses on a review of your beliefs and your spiritual growth when Jupiter goes retrograde. Doesn't go retrograde till like July or August this year. It is going retrograde later than necessary or usual. Mercury, it focuses on reviewing and recreating and relearning from your previous mistakes. Mercury will go retrograde on May 10th in Gemini, in the house of the mind. Yes, Mercury goes retrograde at home. Neptune focuses on breaking free from illusions and seeing the truth. So when Neptune goes retrograde, this is where the rose-colored glasses fall off. And Neptune goes retrograde normally in June. It normally goes retrograde after Jupiter, but it's not this year. It's a switch up, right? Chiron goes retrograde in July, I believe. And it focuses on healing your deep inner wounds. Collectively, I forgot to say where these things are collectively. So collectively, when Jupiter goes retrograde, it's going to retrograde in Aries and go back to Pisces in retrograde. So spiritual growth, self, house of self, and your closures. You got to get those balanced with Jupiter. And Neptune goes retrograde in your 12th house of closures. What do you need to close out? Chiron goes retrograde in your first house of deep inner wounds. How have your thoughts or self-inflicted wounds affected you? Uranus focuses on your inner freedom. Uranus normally goes retrograde in August. Okay. Mars will retrograde this year in Gemini. I'm not sure when it goes retrograde. I don't want to look, but you guys have the book, so you guys know. That's where you need to focus on revitalizing your ambition and healing your masculine energy. During the full moon eclipses, where we have them coming up, right? We have the new moon eclipse that is first. That is on the 30th of this month. This focuses on the new beginnings and new opportunities. The full moon eclipses, which will be in Scorpio, that focuses on shifting your perception so that you can let go and let flow, right? Of course, you guys all have this information if you read the book, right? So that's retrograde season. All right, we're going to talk about now how we apply, okay? How we apply healing and manifesting to astrology. So we're going to talk about this when it is in a sign, when it's in a sun sign, when it's in a moon sign, okay? so you can know. We already talked about how we balance out the moon and the sun, how we use the sun this season. Like the sun is in Aries, the first house. We're working on the first house and how it travels through the moons, through the other zodiacs, and we can figure out how it's attached there, right? We already talked about that. So we're going to talk about what the seasons are good for, okay? Aries season is good for manifesting. It's good for making new things come in. Taurus season is good for manifesting. Okay, Taurus season is good for manifesting. Gemini season is good for, okay, so realize this. When I say Aries or Taurus, this is whether the moon is in Aries or the sun is in the sign, okay? And this correlates. So when the sun or moon is in Aries, it's good for manifesting. When the sun and moon is in Taurus, it's good for manifesting. When the sun or moon is in Gemini, it's good for shadow work. Okay, we know that Mercury rules, okay? Mercury rules the magician, okay? And a lot of people want to manifest under Gemini energy, but Mercury also rules Virgo. Pay attention, okay? That's the better energy to manifest in, okay? So, Gemini, shadow work. Cancer, you can manifest and do shadow work in Cancer season. Cancer, moon in Cancer, sun in Cancer. Manifest and do shadow work. Leo, you want to manifest. Virgo, you want to manifest. Libra, you want to manifest and do shadow work. Okay? Because you got to come into balance. Libra season is both. Okay? Just like Cancer season is both. Manifesting and shadow work, okay? Scorpio season, you want to do shadow work. In Sagittarius season, Sagittarius, when the moon and sun is there, you want to manifest. Capricorn, you want to do shadow work. Aquarius, you want to manifest. Pisces, you want to do shadow work. All right? And you want to manifest as long as Jupiter is there. I'm going to say that for both. All right? Pisces can be intertwinable with this year, okay? So, that's how you use the seasons to heal and manifest. What I mean by that, all right? The sun is in Aries, and this is a good season to manifest. When the sun moves in Taurus, it's going to be a good season to manifest. When the sun moves into Gemini, it's going to be a good season to do your shadow and healing work. Why? Not only because the sun is in Gemini, but also Mercury will be retrograde. Right? You get it? You get it. So that's how we work. So manifesting. I don't do work in eclipse season. So Taurus season, you should be setting your intentions all now. Right? You know what I'm saying? And you should just be putting in the work in Taurus season, because manifesting also means putting in the work, right? We're going to talk about that. Okay, first we're going to talk about healing. All right. So doing your shadow work. Your shadow side is the dark side that consists of negative behavior and impulses like anger, jealousy, greed, selfishness, and power, okay? Anything that you deny about yourself based on society beliefs. We repress these things instead of embracing them. If you figure out the underlying cause of why these emotions, you can use them to your advantage. Most of the time, when we repress these things, we project them onto others. So, everybody is always a mirror. When you're judging somebody else, you need to look at yourself and what you're judging within yourself. I always say that, right? We often see in others what we deny in ourselves. Example, if you are easily irritated by the success of someone, you may need to look at why it irritates you. It's all about introspection and perception. Most of the time, we use our ego as a defense mechanism that causes projection. When you accept your own darker parts, it's easier to accept the shadow in another. You become more grounded, balanced, and other people's behaviors won't trigger you, right? Right. When you embrace the and integrate your shadow, you become your authentic self. When you are self aware, you can assess your environment and others more accurately so you can move accordingly. Balancing the shadow will help you go from reacting to responding. Also, when you know yourself and you are balanced within your light and shadow, you also know when the energy that is being thrown or projected up onto you is not your energy. And you know how to get back into your energy. It is important to know yourself and your own energy. That's why we just went to your birth chart. All those things in the houses. This is how you get to know you. Right? So, we got tips for your shadow work. You got the book, guys. I'm not going to go over this. All right? I'm not going to go over this at all. This is, you have the book. You know how to read it. You know how to do your shadow work. You have your tips for your releasing and your mental blocks. You have your tips for releasing your emotional blocks. All I do want to say is when you are releasing, right? When you are releasing, you want to make sure that you are releasing from every chakra. Your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, and your crown. You have to release what kept you stable in that situation. You have to release your emotional ties. You have to release the power you gave somebody. You have to release the emotional heartstrings that they pulled. You have to release the communication that you didn't speak up for yourself or some things like that. You have to release not believing in your intuition. You have to release not trusting your downloads in spirit. All of those things, when you are releasing and detaching from certain places, situations, and things, that I will go into on. Okay, so when it comes to releasing those things, you want to make sure you're releasing out of every chakra so all of those cords can be cleansed and healed. All right. So, manifesting tips. You guys already know this. All right. And these are the things when you're healing. When it's the season of healing, when it's the season of manifesting per your chart, because you know where these things are at in your chart and what you need to be going towards by now, right? Okay. So, this is ways to manifest, all right? Use these when the energy is for you to manifest. Your visualization, your vision board, your affirmations, and you got good affirmations. Good affirmations in the book to use. Right? This is to help you. Okay, good affirmations. Your 3x33s, your 5x55s, your water healing. I like to sit in the bath. I like to have my meditation music. I like to do it in the water, and I got my candles, and I got my air, and I got my crystals because I got my incense and all of that. That is one of the ways I love to manifest. I believe in water healing as the strongest way to manifest. I'm sorry, but that's just me. I am a water sign. It's also important to know how you're ruled so you can know which manifestations work for you. I embody all 12 signs, and you will learn how to embody all 12 signs. Right? Because this is what it's about. Learning how to embody all the energies in these houses. So as you learn how to embody, you will know what to use. Like Aries season, fire energy. You want to manifest with fire. When we're in earth energy, you want to manifest with earth elements. You know what I'm saying? Herbs, crystals. When we're in water, you want to manifest with water elements. You know what I'm saying? When we're in air, you want to speak it. You know this is important for you to know these things. So as we're in Aries season and you're manifesting, remember Aries naturally sextiles Gemini and Aquarius. When you have those candles out and you are manifesting, speaking what you want will be great. right? I know a lot of people do candle magic or, whatever, but you're going to have to learn, and we'll get into that. We're going to have to tap into that, different types of magic, right? But that's neither here nor there, but I'm just talking because I know some of you guys already are into it, right? Adding crystals to your drinking water and setting the intentions. I did that a lot. I had chakra crystals in my water for like months before I moved to North Carolina to become balanced. It works, all right? I release, I am, I have, I will. I always say that. When you are manifesting, you want to make sure you are releasing. Then what are you bringing back in? You know what I'm saying? With I have, I am, I will. All of that, right? You guys already know this is already in the book. Get into a routine. Okay, this is going to happen because as you are healing, you are also tapping into spiritual gifts, and you want to make sure that you are getting the downloads and the messages. You got that getting to your routine. All right, you got your sound healing frequency techniques. I sleep in sound healing every day. Right? On this next journey, I'm going to tell y'all for the next year or whatever, as you are working through your healing, you want to spend some time in sound healing, and it tells you which one is good for what. All right. You got your affirmations. You have your affirmations here. Okay. That you need to say when you need to say them. These are my go-tos. These are important for me. These are some of these you'll see that I post on statuses all the time, right? Boom. So, you got that. We'll talk about the importance of journaling, learning, and shifting your perception as you are doing your healing and you are working in your seasons. If you know, and this is something that I wanted to talk to you guys personally, but, because this book is based on collective. But we're in Aries season, right? We're in a new season. Aries represents the first house of self. If you know, okay, that we're like, for me, Aries is my 9th house. Aries is my 9th house. 9th house is Sagittarius energy, and it focuses on your spiritual growth. This is where I would be journaling. Do you understand? This is why I wanted to tell y'all in person. So if you know your chart and you have, it's Aries season, but Aries is your 7th house, you should be journaling in Libra. Do you understand? That'll make you, that's how the energy is conducive for you. That's why I wanted a lot of you guys to do this class in person, but it is what it is. And now you have the recorded, we are finishing up, right? This is what we talked about, and we went deeper into the book and explaining how to use it. I will be accepting your guys' personal questions. Okay, it's 4 of you guys. I would like for you guys to put your questions in the group chat because other people might have this same question and I will answer them there. All right, there's no time limit on when you should ask me these questions. Because you are in the astrology class, you can always come back to this video. I'm about to upload it now and then you guys will have it, right? You can come back to this video and learn what you need to learn, and you have that extension to ask me the questions that you need if it's important in your chart, because we didn't get that one-on-one time. That is my extension. I am offering this to you for the next 3 months. The next 3 months, me and you. Me and you meaning me and Chantel, me and Brittany, me and Kristen, and me and Erica. If you have questions about your birth chart, we can explore them. You have 3 months to use this energy with me to explore your birth chart on a personal level. That's what's included. All right. You guys, look, an hour and 45 minutes. I love it. Uh, oh, okay. I'm going to get this video to you guys.